YouTube, is Tone, back with another one for you. This one is the bill of exchange process. This is the sixth video. We got one more after this. I thought it was gonna be like 20 fucking videos, but it isn't. So it's just this here. We got one more after this. And I'm gonna try to find some more shit for you, even though I don't feel like I should have to, but I'm gonna, because you guys obviously are learning from this because there's a bunch of fucking hits on it. So I'm gonna just stick with this topic. Essentially, UCC1, UCC3 addendum with your security contract. An additional UCC3 is going to have to be created to assign partial assignment of the interest based on the initial lien amount. That's going to be your bank, okay? UCC3, that's going to assign a portion of that amount over to an instrument that you're going to be creating. That's going to look like what I'm going to show you right now at the end of this shit. All right, so let's get into this. There's like 2 more pages of laws, and then we're going to get into the actual documents. So, right here. Notice a memorandum of law points and authorities in support of International Bill of Exchange. This, despite the fact the only official U.S. government directive from the Department of the Treasury dealing with the policy of the government toward fictitious or otherwise invalid instruments sent to the Treasury for collection states clearly they will be returned to the sender. Now, mind you, I've sent them shit that they didn't honor that I never fucking got back either. But I don't give a fuck anyway. I mean, it ends up working anyway, ultimately in the end. So there is therefore no basis or reason or plausible explanation for such unexplained silence with regard to this particular class of instrument, except that a remedy in equity for recovery to the prime creditor over the United States is true and factual and cannot be denied or dishonored in equity, meaning that you are the government, these people work for you, how the fuck are they going to dishonor one of your instruments? Who the fuck are they? You know what I'm saying? So, and that such bills of acceptance and discharge of mutually offsetting obligations between the United States and its holders in equity as secured parties are, in fact, being kept, held, and without return or dishonor, accepted as obligations of the United States in the discharge and recovery for the public debt, and they may claim on their face to Secretary of the Treasury to be. And so you got to keep in mind, too, that you are dealing with people. Some of them are fucking scam artists. They may try to just keep your shit and fucking deposit. If you don't put it as a special deposit, then that means that they can just throw it in with the rest of the funds. It has to be a special deposit, okay? So how they are to be recovered is up to the parties involved holding such obligations and is provided for in law and regulation and administrative procedure a holder or its banking institution may use. So in conclusion, when a commercial bank sends the instrument to the secretary for discharge of its own obligations and a problem arises concerning the instrument, a commercial response of some kind is required. There is a legal liability of the government to a negotiable legal tender obligation upon the United States government sent to them for acceptance by a member of Federal Reserve Bank after they did receive it and became responsible for it. That makes them a holder in due course, which means that they do have to take action, or else they're going to be personally liable for that shit. Personally liable for that. So it wouldn't even come out of your account after that, after they held it and did nothing with it. That shit is going to have to come out of their pocket. And if you want to be a dick, you could charge them times 10 on the actual instrument amount, just for being assholes. So in conclusion, when a commercial bank sends the instrument to the security for discharge of its own obligation and a problem arises concerning the instrument, a commercial response of some kind is required. There is the legal responsibility of the government to a negotiable tender. All right, so they became responsible for it. The Treasury has an obligation as a department of government serving the public interest to the bank, which is a member of the Federal Reserve System, that has a commercial obligation to an account holder and a third party who tendered the item in payment to tell them that it is not any good or it is not going to be honored, even if they want to keep it for prosecution or investigation. This is in effect what the directive says the government will do if it is no good. What does statutory law, regulation, or case law tell us about what that obligation is? They do not dishonor it in any way by return of the item or sending of any notice to that effect. So they're not in dishonor by letting you know that there was a defect with the instrument, sending it back with a notice of defect, and allowing you an opportunity to rectify the situation, okay? So, or make requests for additional information or time for examination of the instrument, or given a statement of explanation indicating the time frame for its review and settlement if it would be an ordinarily lengthy time, as longer than 60 days to finish with it. The instrument are being kept, held, and without return or dishonor are accepted as an obligation of the United States in the discharge and recovery of the public debt as it makes claim on its face to be. So they're saying that they have to honor the instrument up to the amount listed on it, because the debt becomes the obligation of the United States after it becomes a debt, which is when you receive the purchase order or the invoice. It immediately at that point becomes an obligation of the United States. So process the international bill of exchange through the collection department of your bank. Your bank is required by law to treat the instrument as an obligation of the United States to the bank. You know, I wouldn't go through the regular side of the bank, even though they're supposed to fucking take it. A lot of them really don't know about this shit, and even if they do, they're probably just gonna play stupid. You want to get in contact with the Treasury Tax and Loan Department. Okay, that's who deals with, usually with the securities and instruments like this, and they deal with private instruments. Okay, so your bank is required by law to treat the instrument as an obligation of the United States to the bank. Same thing if you're depositing promissory notes. They need to fucking accept that as well. Okay? So once the International Bill of Exchange is used as an asset, such as in a borrower of custody, BIC arrangement, you are required by law to adjust the account, provide to me the copy of the executed frank document and evidence of the discharge accounting within 30 days of receipt of the document. Should you fail to adjust the account using the enclosed International Bill of Exchange instrument number, whatever it may be, the notary public will note your non-response and dishonor. And should you fail to respond and act accordingly, by your silence you agree to grant me limited power of attorney to sign for you concerning this matter. So you're giving them an opportunity at that point to go ahead and so this is the bottom part of that, apparently. So that's what it would look like there. And so that's the letter that basically tells them how to, what do you call it? How to process it. So I fucking just did that backwards. So this is the top part of it. So letter of instruction regarding International Bill of Exchange. I just read you the bottom part of this. So this is the top part. It looks just like the other one did in the last video. So letter of instruction. So your charges are accepted for value and for consideration in return for full settlement, discharge, and the closure of your demand, presentment, letter 950, or whatever you're gonna number it at. And so it's dated. And so you put the date there. Your accounting is confusing and incomprehensible to me, as it would be anyone. However, 60,000, whatever appears to be the total amount that you are demanding. Creditor secured party does not accept your contract or the conditions of your contract. However, accepts your invoice for value and honors it with this discharge instrument as a remedy provided by law. See the enclosed memorandum of law and points and authorities and documents for clarification. The attached International Bill of Exchange, document number XYZ, is tendered in the amount of $75,000 for the full settlement and closure of your charges in your presentment, letter XYZ, which is accepted for value and returned for settlement. These instruments are presented by a notary on demand for your acceptance or dishonor. Always send this shit via notary. That way you have a witness there. You got to do it. Like, why even sell yourself short by not doing that? Because that don't even make any sense. And you're high, and I mean, you're a lot more likely to get this shit processed if you just do it correctly by sending it via notary. So put another way, if the bank had to pay me the item to dishonor its customer agreements as if it had been a check, what would or could the bank be trying to do with it? Finally settle the account. The bank needs to treat the instrument tendered as an obligation of the United States to the bank. The tender of these instruments discharge the obligation of the debt for which they are delivered, and the payee becomes the new holder in due course and collection agent on the instrument. So when you're the holder, the holder in due course, then you're gonna have obligations and duties associated with that particular document, which means that you do have to act, or else you become personally liable for it. So whoever wants to hang on to that shit, right? So if they dishonor your instrument and don't send you a notice of defect, then they're going to be liable for whatever the value of that is, and you can't even make them pay for the whole shit out of their own pocket, because they do have an obligation to get that done. So here you're gonna see. a UCC financing statement amendment. So this is what the UCC 3 is going to be. This is what you're going to staple to your bill of exchange which is going to be proof that it is in fact a commercial instrument valid in the public due to the fact that you did a partial assignment, not to mention the lien and all that shit as well. So you're going to staple this to your actual BOE. And so if they can, so they can go ahead and verify it as well. They can go ahead and type in your reference number, and they're gonna be able to access your lien, your private trust. It's gonna be visible there. They can't ask you to see it because that's private as well. This is just the public side of your private documentation here. And so the amendment collateral. So numbers XYZ reserved for use as document numbers on bill of exchange, promissory notes, or bonds. This is a partial assignment of the collateral stated in whatever your reference number is to secure funds for the international bill of exchange, registered mail number XYZ, and that's how it's going to look. Definitely get this book if you're going to be doing this as well, because you're going to want that to look as close to this shit as possible. As close to that shit as possible. So then here you have a little list of. So this is the top part of the bill of exchange here. So the pre-authorized transfer memorandum. So fiduciary, you're going to be assigning them as that as well, because you have to essentially put them in a position to be able to zero the account. So you're going to, I mean, you could even do a 56F on them, 56 fiduciary on them as well, to make it easier for them to get done. So the attached international bill of exchange number XYZ is a non-cash discharge item with an attached charging instrument that has been accepted for value. And I mean, they could process this shit a number of different ways. They could actually accept this as cash and put it on a put it on 1099A, 1099B, and you know just call it cash and go ahead and send it in with their estimated tax payments on a 1040 ES, and that over to the bank. I mean to the Treasury Department when they do their taxes, and they'll go ahead and get credit for it that way as well. So there's different bunch of there's no one way to do any of this shit. So a non-cash discharge item with an attached charging instrument that has been accepted for value and returned for settlement and closure by the principal. This international bill of exchange is to be presented to the drawee and processed by Fedwire to access the exempt priority prepaid account used for this purpose. Post the uncollected credits into the asset column of this account and charge the offer and acceptance for settlement prepaid and exempt when entered into the post-closing balance. Return to original issue profile is priority exempt acknowledgement and from the principal. So this is a prepaid exchange item and a U.S. bankruptcy proceeding remedy because there is no money. So statement of account and stipulation. The balance shown below reflects a good faith statement of account for the account indicated below. The account representative or his designee may correct or approve the statement if you determine the balance is different than shown below. Your document correction must be returned within 14 days of receipt of this tender, pursuant to whatever the code statutes are here. Failure to correct and return the statement of account with your supporting documentation of indebtedness within 14 days constitutes agreement within this accounting, after which you, your successors, agents, co-business partners, and or assignees may only make a claim up to the amount this statement shows as a balance. Important notice, if you do not know how to process this instrument, forward it to the appropriate department or superior to effect expeditious settlement of the account, which means to expedite to, hurry the fuck up. Retention of this document constitutes acceptance and intent to perform pursuant to the request made by the accompanying acceptance. And here below, you're going to have the account number. That's going to be the account number or invoice number. And here the year of whenever you're processing this, the amount due here is going to be there, and the amount tender is going to be here as well, and the current balance is going to be left here. So you're essentially, what you're doing with this shit is zeroing the account and giving them an opportunity to make their accounts reflect the actions that you have in fact already taken. So here is going to be the bottom part of this. So international bill of exchange, pursuant to and in accordance with the final articles of the unit of the UCC convention in effect on the date hereof. So an obligation of the United States presented for acceptance on demand, remit at par via Fedwire. So this is going to be processed through the TTL department, Treasury Tax and Loan Department. They are the ones that have access to this. You're going to need to deal with the TTL agent, who is a bailee of that specific bank and is charged with the task of processing the private credit, which is usually transferred via Fedwire. So drawer. Here you're going to have John Henry Doe receiving at whatever account And so the drawee is going to be Secretary of the Treasury of the United States or other authorized representative of the United States. Here, credit at 30 days upon sight of the order. And so it'll look just like this here. And so you can see what that all is. And so, I mean, it's, it seems simple to me, but I've been doing this shit for years. So, I hope that this shit made sense, and I really do hope that it actually helped you. It is a game of chess. Stop playing checkers with these clowns. That's what I got for you for now. Until we meet again.